Hi there. I'm Lilia Lewis. Welcome to another edition of New Day, New Beginnings. And as we all know, we're also going to get a start to a whole new year. And that gives us a chance for new opportunities. Maybe there's something you already started this year, but you didn't quite finish it. Well, now we're going to have a whole new year in 3 days. So maybe you could pick up where you left off. Or maybe you had something in mind that you wanted to do all year and you kept putting it off and putting it off. Well, now you're going to have another opportunity in 3 days to do it. I mean, that's what you want to do. Now, here's your opportunity. And also, it gives us a lot of other opportunities, things like how we treat people. It gives us a chance to show more kindness and more patience. Be good to people. Maybe you weren't so hot this year to others. Maybe stuff was going on and it just agitated you, and you weren't really being kind or generous or understanding or patient, or most of all, forgiving. That's one of the main things. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And my lesson title today is Learning to Forgive. No, I know it's not an easy thing to do, but it's mandatory. That is something mandatory that we have to learn to do because it without it, without forgiveness, we can have no peace, inner peace within ourselves. So we're doing ourselves harm. A lot of times, you may have an argument or something, and you're talking about it 3 months later. Yeah, I remember when such and such, and they said this and they did that. Well, guess what? That was 3 months ago. You think they're still thinking about it? I don't think so. So why is it bothering you so? Especially if you weren't wrong. Now, if they were attacking you, being disrespectful or whatever, but they're not thinking about that anymore. That's old news. So, anytime you're not forgiving it or the person, even if you don't see them again, you're still thinking about, well, what good is that? That does you no good at all. So, you might as well learn how to deal with it and learn how to forgive it as well as yourself. And I know we've been hurt, offended, disrespected numerous times in our lives, and we still will. Because why? We're all human. And some things have been way more severe than others, and I get that. Make no mistake, I do get that. But the point is, how do we get past them? Now, are you one of those people still carrying around the hurt, the pain, or even a grudge? And that's what turns into to hatred and envy and payback. So many times people are always so angry, they're looking to pay somebody. I'll fix them. You're going to fix them, and they've gone on about their business. They probably don't even remember what happened while you're worrying about how you're going to fix them. First of all, okay, let's just define forgiveness. Forgiveness is to pardon somebody. You know, give up the resentment. Get rid of the ill will, the grudge, and even hatred. And that's how come so much stuff we see in the street, retaliation stuff. You're always hearing on the news, somebody's getting shot. There's a drive-by. That's retaliation because they're letting whatever happened months ago or whenever it happened. Why are you still thinking about this? Why? Because of what we're talking about. They let their emotions get in the way. Now, I'm not saying for you to forgive somebody and then That's like it's not a sign of weakness or even saying, okay, it's okay. It's not okay, but you can get past it. And some people just, they just try to act like it didn't happen. But see, if you try to act like it didn't happen, it's building up inside of you because you know it did. So that forgiveness is for your benefit to help you get free from the events of the past, whatever it was that might have the situation was for you. So, in order to do this, how do we learn to forgive? Well, the first thing you have to do is recognize what the situation it is what it is, as we say. But you have to confront it within yourself. And so many times, if it's a breakup, somebody might walk out on somebody. He might walk out, she might walk out, you know, and then you're just there. Now you're all caught up in emotions, and all the emotions just kind of get you all discombobulated. But you've got to recognize, wow, I'm in a sad state. But you've got to face it, I'll say, head on. Because emotions mean the grief or the hurt that you feel for what you've lost. And that's what we dwell on, the fact that we lost the person or, somebody mistreated you. But at that time, what do? The first thing you got to do is let out your emotions. It could be tears, it could be anger, it could be name calling, whatever helps you to release the emotion that you're having. Whatever it takes. Me, well, I'll tell you, I'm a crier. Yeah, but see, that's only step one for me. Because once I'm finished crying over it, then I get a little bit angry. And, I'm thinking, I was so stupid. I shouldn't have even been bothered. I should have done this, that, and that. Then you're mad at yourself because you let it happen for so long, or whatever the case may be. But you got to do whatever it takes, but you've got to confront and admit, it's done. I got to get past this. So a lot of times, also, we try to figure out, well, why did they do whatever they did? Why did they leave? Why this? Why that? Because a lot of times you try to figure things out, but I'm thinking, I wonder if, have you ever tried to, I'll say, put yourselves in their position? Not to condone what they did, but maybe to just try to get some sort of an understanding of what motivated them to do that. And sometimes it may not even be about us. You may have been the best person in the world. I thought I was. You may have been the best person in the world. But, sometimes people are fighting their own demons inside. And just because we have a relationship with somebody doesn't mean that they tell you everything that's on their mind. Maybe it's something that happened to them that they're ashamed to talk about, or, it's to them, it's like, oh no, I can't speak about this. So, it doesn't always have to be about you. So you may be being upset for nothing because it's not even about you. But this always kind of helps to relieve the anger we feel. And it does. Trust me, it does. So, okay, now let's go here and read. I'm going to go to Luke chapter 30, chapter 6, verse 37. Okay? The book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 37. And it says, "Judge not, and you shall not be judged. Condemn not, and you shall not be condemned. Forgive, and you shall be forgiven." Well, okay, judge not. To judge means to decide, to make a decision about something where someone else is concerned. Now, how many times you go somewhere, first impressions, that's a judgment. Whew. First impressions are a judgment. You may go in a room and see somebody and look at them, or what are they doing here? Why are you judging them? You don't even know them. You just happen to see them. But that's what a judgment is. It's a decision you make. Just first impressions is a decision. So it says, "Judge not, and you shall not be judged." So if I'm judging somebody by how they look or act, how do you know somebody's not judging you? How you look. So if you're taking the time to get to know the person, that's not a judgment, that's getting to know them. And then it says, "Condemn not." Blame is to condemn somebody. People go guilty in jail, they're condemned. They're condemned, but it says, "Condemn not, and you shall not be condemned." So all this is saying, what you give is what you're going to get. That's why you have to be careful of what you give, because then it says, "Forgive, and you shall be forgiven." And that's what we're talking about. Learning to forgive. Don't be judgmental. And so many of us are judgmental. I know that. I'm well aware of that. But a lot of times, you just got to, how do I say, give people a chance. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Personally, a lot of times when I want to know what to do, I um, I just go to the back of the Bible and look up whatever it is that's bothering me, be it anger, frustration, um, impatience. I looked up forgiveness and forgive. That's where I'm getting these verses from, because these are things that we need to learn how to do so that we can learn how to forgive. Now, that's what you need to do no matter what your situation is. Is it anger? Is it jealousy? Is it, whatever it is? The back of the Bible, where you look up the word, will tell you chapters that relate to what you are looking for. Okay, now we're going to go now to Matthew chapter 6. Let me go to Matthew. Matthew chapter 6, and we're going to read verse 12 and verse 13. And you know what? The very fourth sentence is the Lord's Prayer, part of the Lord's Prayer. That's the verse that says, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." Okay, so let's go look at verse 12. It says, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." And 13 says, "And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil." Those two verses go together. Excuse me. And I say that because forgive us our debts just like we just said. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Now, if you're not forgiven, other people, why are you looking for forgiveness? In other words, you get what you give. And it says, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Well, temptation and evil are all the payback stuff. When we get all emotional and all worked up, the first thing we do is think about paying back and I'll fix them. And people are telling you, well, if it was me, I would do this, that, and the other. Well, it's not you. And if I were you, well, you're not me. See, people will throw you off. People will mislead you because they're not feeling what you're feeling. They're just hearing what you're saying, and now they're getting annoyed. But to get annoyed and get angry and get hostile, that's not how you satisfy it. You're not, that's not easing you any. So they're the temptation. They create the evil if you listen to them. So you've got to always, and I always say, be careful of who you listen to and what they're saying, because whatever they're saying could make it worse for you. And like I said before, the other person may not even be thinking about this. So now let's go to Luke chapter 23. Okay. Luke chapter 23. And that says, where are we at here? 23. 23, verse 34. Wow. And this is Jesus' words on the cross. What does he say? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And you know why? They didn't. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what they were doing. And they crucified the one person who could give them everything they wanted and everything they needed. But what? They were so full of hate and ill will and resentment, they couldn't accept the fact that he was the Son, the true Son of God. And because of that, they crucified him. But at the same time, from the cross, he was still asking for forgiveness for them, for us. He took away our sins. He died for us so that we could live a better Christian life. Okay, well, now we're going to go to Colossians chapter 3, verse 13. Colossians chapter 3, verse 13 says, forbearing one another, forgiving one another, if any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so you do also. All right, forbearing one another. And that just means to be patient. Just be patient with one another. Learn to control yourself when you're annoyed or when you're provoked about something. You know, just don't fly all off the handle like some people do. You know, foreboding means that forbearing simply means just to be patient. How many times you just people say stuff or say something to you and you just fly off the handle. You don't take time to think or anything. You just say what you want to say. And it says, and forgive one another. Well, pardon one another. Okay. You know, you're excused. Let go of the resentment. Let go of the ill will or the hatred, whatever you have against somebody. It's not that important. You're only making yourself miserable. You got to practice self-control. And so much stuff we see on TV, we'll say, wow, they were really out of control. And they are. They don't take time to think about what they're doing. They don't take time to think about the repercussions of what they're doing. They just go off, fly off the handle, and do or say whatever it's almost like they're in a rage of some kind. And this only makes things worse for you. And sometimes that might just be a good time to be quiet. Just don't respond. So many things are said out of anger and frustration or hurt that they want to later, they regret saying it, but it's too late then. It doesn't matter then. Now, me, I get quiet. I do. I just shut down. I don't have nothing else to say. And sometimes, and sometimes you do have to learn to forgive yourself because a lot of times you may say, see, that was stupid of me because I saw this coming, but I thought if I stayed around, it would get better. And, maybe I stayed in this mess too long. Now you're mad at yourself. Maybe you felt, things would get better, or maybe if I change a little bit or I do this, you're trying to fix it, but you can't fix it unless you forgive that person. And if it's something you didn't do, well, there's nothing you can do, but you can forgive yourself if you felt you stayed too long and you blame your own self for the situation you're in, you know. But forgiving yourself and others is that's just something part of life. We'll be doing that over and over again because we're all human and we all make mistakes. But you've got to learn how to get past that point, and that's the whole thing. But by forgiving others as well as ourselves, now you're releasing yourself from being bound to whatever happened in the past. Because the past is the past. You can't bring back the past. You can think about it all you want to, but you can't change it. So a lot of times we're always looking to change things. And forgiveness isn't always about accepting or condoning mistreatment or bad behavior. No, we're not condoning anything, but it's just we're trying to have peace within ourselves. And that's very important because without peace, you can't go forward. And this is what gives you new life. Getting peace. You don't know how, well, I'm not saying you don't know, but a lot of you do know. If you have peace within yourself, stuff doesn't seem to bother you. Not like that, to make you go to all kinds of ends. The whole process, you know, may be difficult at first, but it's well worth the effort. To have peace of mind, nothing like it. Nothing like it. So I say take your time, but follow this. Admit what you're up against and let it go. The ill feelings, no matter what it takes, whether it's tears or anger or whatever, get it out of your system because that's the only thing that's going to help you. And that's what forgiveness is about, helping you as well as somebody else. And that's, you got to learn to love yourself. First of all, love yourself and pray every day and every night. Just pray, pray, pray. Ask for direction, ask for guidance. Be sincere, have the conversation. Just talk. That's all prayer is, a talk with God. Lord, help me to understand. Give me insight, give me wisdom. Teach me, let me learn how to forgive. Let me learn how to be more kind to people. Let me learn how to be more considerate to people. There's so many areas that we could improve in. These things are also part of fruit of the spirit. The kindness, the loving, uh, you know, there's so many things, small things that we could do. Consideration, understanding, all that. That's not hard to do. But we get too caught up in emotions. And that's where we need to draw the line. Don't let your emotions take over your senses. Use your head, think about what you're getting into, what you've gotten into, and now how to remove yourself from it. And once you do that, you'll feel so relieved. It's like a weight's been lifted off your shoulders. There's no better way than to pray, to ask for the guidance and direction that only God can give. You've got a new opportunity, another chance, and now 3 days, we've got a whole new year. Take advantage of it. Use it for the best. There's no other way. And my closing words for today are: the key to forgiving others is to stop focusing on what they did to you and start focusing on what God did for you. And until next week, I'm Leolia Lewis. Thanks for joining me, and have a blessed and prosperous new year.